Kimmy. I was like, what did I do wrong? Hey, Wolves Whisper, it's good to be back. Hey, Palm. Hey, Ohio Girl. Hey, Johnny. Hey, Angel 007. Hey, Boss Man. Hey, Julie. Hey, Cece. It has been an interesting past few days for me, but I am recovering. Hey Tracy. Hey Jessica. Hello, Romeo. Hey, XJ. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome back. Hey, Christy. Oh, yes, Jen, plenty of good sweets. Hey, Jim Bradley. Hey, Jennifer, how are you? Thank you for sharing the live. Hello, Don Juan of Tucson. How are you? Thank you, X. I'm trying to recover. Come on in, make yourselves at home. Hello, Jessica Bethany. How are you? Legend of the 80s. It's good to be back in the seat. So tonight is supposed to be subscribers night, but with the way that TikTok has did everything, it's just really mixed everything up. So I'm just going to keep it exactly as is because there's been a few nights with no stories. So tonight is for everyone. Edgar's doing good. He managed not to catch the cold. I'm hanging in there, Shirley. Hey, Marine's daughter. I'm hanging in there. I feel better than I have the past 2.5 days. I will. I definitely will. You're going to be seeing more of Edgar. Just hang tight. Just drinking plenty of water. Yeah, Julie was amazing, wasn't she? She is a rare Julie. She really is. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. I have the most amazing support system. They are all just amazing, incredibly amazing. Seize the day. I missed you all, believe me. I felt absolutely horrible that I wasn't able to do the live. I hated it. And someone was like, well, at least you're getting a break from it that I work with. And I said, no. I said, that is actually something that I enjoy. I enjoy telling stories. I enjoy telling stories for my mentors. And so it wasn't good. It wasn't a fun time for me. I wasn't relaxing. I was struggling because I was having difficulty breathing and just had a bunch of different symptoms, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't push myself. Good to see you back. Hey, Pamela. Hello, Jaylee. Thank you for the follow. So if you're wondering what this is, my name is Bryn Morgan. I'm a horror author. I'm also a teller of scary stories. And tonight, I am telling the original true story that The Conjuring was based off of. The Perron family haunting. That's right. We're going to do it again, hopefully without any interruptions this time. Hey, Sherry Phillips. Hello, Brenda. Hey, Awakened Buddha J. Hey, Cece. Hey, Judy. Come on in, everybody. Come on in. Oh, thank you, Jessica. That's very sweet. Hey, Peggy. Rachel. I see you, Shirley. Yep. I see you. I am good, Brian. Hello, Jackie O'Connell Care. How are you? We'll get started in 4 minutes. Grab your popcorn, your blanket. Hello, Mel Mel. You're fine. Yeah, I see you, Shirley. Can everyone else see Shirley? Let her know if you can. You see her? Okay, yeah. Yeah, because I was like, I see her. We see you, Shirley. Did anyone see the video that Julie made today? It was incredible. Wasn't it incredible? You got your watermelon. Okay, I love watermelon. I'm going to just show you briefly some pictures here. This is the Perron girls. This is the Perron girls. There were 5. Plus their mother, Carolyn. But those are the girls. That might be the girl. That's the Perron daughters with their mother. I hope y'all can see that on YouTube. This story is absolutely incredible. Here's a more colorful photo. And I believe they're coming out with the new Conjuring movie, from what has been reported back to me. That would be incredible. I hope I'm not cutting anyone's head off. This is another picture. Believe me, I've looked up every fact, every crucial detail of this story. The only one I'm able to find of the actual house. And believe me, I was looking. set the stage. I will show more as the story goes on. Who's ready for story time? Hello, Goldwing. Thank you for the rose. It's coming out September the 5th. Wonderful. Hello, Nikki. Hello. Oh, well, thank you, Annalise. I love your name. How was the music? This is the Night Realm. I am the Night Queen, and you are my night dwellers. Come with me into the world of shadowed, twisted stories. This is the darkest corners of the Night Realm. I am your Night Queen, and tonight I bring you tales so terrifying, so bone-chillingly real, that it will follow you long after you leave this sacred space of shadows. Tonight we journey to a place where darkness doesn't just fall. Oh no, it lives. Where the very walls breathe with malevolent intent. Where a family's American dream became an unspeakable nightmare that lasted 10 years. 10 long years. This is not fiction, my beloved night dwellers. This is the true account of the Perron family haunting. A story so horrifying that Hollywood dare not tell it completely. But here, in my night realm, truth reigns supreme. Prepare yourselves, for once you enter the Arnold estate, you may never truly leave. Chapter 1. The house that darkness built. What evil lurks in the heart of the countryside? You're about to find out. The year was 1970, and winter's cruel grip tightened around New England like skeletal fingers. In December, Roger and Carolyn Perron stood before their future hell, though at the time they only saw heaven. Roger, just look at it. 14 rooms for our 5 girls to grow up in. 8.5 acres of pure freedom. Look at this. It was a happy day. The Arnold estate stretched out before them. A Georgian colonial farmhouse built in 1736. Its weathered clapboard siding painted white, but streaked with shadows that seemed to move independently of the dying December light. The house sat like a patient predator in the Rhode Island countryside, just beyond Harrisville, always watching, always watching. Roger looked up at the house. He didn't feel the same excitement as his wife, Carolyn. It's certainly spacious. Carolyn, honey, I know that you want the girls to have a big place. I know you want them to have room to run, but can we afford this? We will do whatever we have to do to make it work, Roger. The girls need this. We need this. You and I need this. But it was Earl Kenyon, the previous owner, who delivered the warning that should have sent the Perron family running back to their cars. As he handed over the keys, his weathered face grew grave and dark. I hope you're happy here. But I just want to tell you one thing. For the sake of your family, leave all the lights on at night. Roger looked at Mr. Kenyon confused. I'm sorry, what did you say? Kenyon started backing away from the house. Just keep the lights on. Trust me on that. But Carolyn put her hand on Roger's shoulder. Just the ramblings of a crazy old man. So Roger dismissed it as the eccentric ramblings of an old man, just as Carolyn had told him that it was. He had no idea that Kenyon was trying to save them from a decade of terror. What they couldn't see, what no mortal eye could perceive, was the house's true history. 8 generations of death had soaked and seeped into the bones of the Arnold estate. Drownings, murders, taking of own lives. Each tragedy had fed the darkness that dwelled within those walls, growing stronger with every passing decade. They began to look around the old house, and Roger started turning on all the lights. He kept hearing Mr. Kenyon's voice. Turn all the lights on. So he did. He went down to the basement, There was a single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling. It beckoned with its dirt floor. He couldn't believe how low the ceiling was. He had to hunch over to look around. He also noticed that the temperature was at least 20 degrees lower than it was in the rest of the house. But that was normal for basements, right? Then he noticed something, smelled it, rather, a rancid smell coming from a corner in the back. He had no idea that something was cold, rancid, and waiting for fresh prey to enter its domain. But the Perrons, with their 5 daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy, and little April, who was only 2 months old, saw only possibility where there should have been seen only peril. They saw light where only darkness reigned. I want my room candy-colored pink. I want my room blue. Can I get my room lavender? Of course. You can have your rooms whatever color you want them. Carolyn was so happy. The deed was signed. The trap was set. And somewhere in the depths of that house, in the space between life and death, something ancient and evil smiled with satisfaction. New blood was coming to the Arnold estate, and it was hungry. Chapter 2, 5 Minutes to Hell. How quickly can paradise become purgatory? January the 11th, 1971. Final moon day arrived, wrapped in a vicious snowstorm. As if nature herself was warning the Perrons, turn back. But they pressed forward, their moving truck struggling through the howling wind and the blinding snow. Andrea Perron, first person. The biggest question that I always get from people is, how long did it take for us to notice paranormal activity to start after we moved in? The answer is simple. It was about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That's all the house gave them to settle into their new life before revealing its true nature. First person, Andrea Perron. I remember we had moved in. There were boxes everywhere. Mom had handed me one of the boxes. I was the oldest. I was 11. And she handed me a box and told me to take it upstairs. And I just remember it was cold and the house was shadowed, but I walked through the living room to the stairs. And I looked up and I saw a lady. She was standing at the top of the steps. She was looking down at me. I remember I ran back to the kitchen. I dropped the box and I was like, Mom, come look at this. There's a lady upstairs. She's at the top of the stairs. When I told my mom what I saw, she said, honey, there's no lady here. We're the only ones moving in. But I knew what I saw. I saw her clearly. She was an elderly lady that was dressed in a period dress. Her dress was black. She was standing at the top of the stairs, and I didn't sense any threat from her. She was smiling gently before she dissolved into the shadows. This was not the evil spirit that they were going to encounter. This was someone else. Someone kinder. The first of many spirits who called the Arnold estate home. But death had already staked its claim. Within 10 days of moving in, their beloved dog, Schultz, was killed in a tragic accident. As if the house itself was rejecting anything pure and innocent, the dead took Washington's threshold. Andrea, first person. Schultz didn't like the house. From day one, he didn't like it. First time that we came out to look at the house, he stayed in the car. When we moved in, it was so cold outside that Dad had to pick Schultz up and bring him in the kitchen. And he growled and cried and whined the whole time. We still don't know what happened to Schultz. We finally had to just let him live outside. It wasn't the cold that took him. It was something else. The house was testing the Perron family, introducing itself gradually to them. The basement door creaked open on its own that first night. Roger found it ajar the next morning. Everyone had gathered in the kitchen for breakfast. Andrea, first person. Dad had told us to keep the basement door closed because there was such a cold draft that was coming up the stairs. It would freeze out the kitchen. We didn't have the best heating. Mom had to turn on the oven and open the oven door and let the heat come out so that we were able to eat breakfast. Now that I look back on it, it was unnaturally cold. I remember Dad yelled at us that morning. He said, "I locked this yesterday, I know I did, and I told you to leave it closed. Now if you open it again, there's going to be repercussions. Do you understand?" All of us girls looked at Dad. He'd never raised his voice to us. It was very eerie and weird and odd. But it was the clocks that delivered the house's first true message. Every timepiece in the Arnold estate, whether it was grandfather clocks, wall clocks, alarm clocks, all stopped exactly at 3:07 a.m. The witching hour had chosen its moment. Andrea, first person. I remember Mom was talking to my dad about the clocks. Every morning, 3:07 a.m., the clocks would stop. Every single clock. And I remember very clearly Mom and Dad talking in the kitchen. The only light that was on was that ugly fluorescent light over the sink. I hated that light. It was just creepy. And it just cast the kitchen in a yellowish green glow. I remember Dad was sitting down at the table with his head in his hands. And Mom, she was holding a cup of coffee. Why are the clocks stopping, Roger? Honey, I don't know. It's an old house. It's all wiry. There's got to be an electrical explanation for it. Okay, what about my watch, Roger? It stops too. Cold spots appeared randomly throughout the house. Pockets of air so frigid they made breath visible, even when the heating system worked perfectly, which it often didn't. Something about that basement made the furnace malfunction with supernatural frequency, forcing Roger into the bowels of this house where something cold and putrid watched him work. Another thing that happened was things would disappear or be moved from one place to the next. Andrea, the oldest Perron daughter, first person. My mom is a clean freak. She wanted everything spotless, not a spot of dirt, no dust. She had this broom that she just swore by. She said it would pick up every piece of dirt. And I remember she came in the living room. We were watching cartoons on a Saturday morning. We were bundled up in our blankets because it was so cold. And I remember she walked in. Girls, have you seen my broom? It was just here a minute ago. Are y'all hiding things from me? No. Why would you think we'd hide a broom, Mom? But it was the broom. It was always the broom. It would disappear from the kitchen, only to reappear in impossible places. Leaning against the cellar door, standing in the middle of an upstairs hallway, sometimes balanced perfectly in corners where no one had placed it. But the oddest one of all, Andrea, first person. The one that really freaked us out was when we found the broom on top of the stair post. It was just lying there, and I don't know how it stayed on there because the post wasn't that wide, but the broom was laid perfectly across it. But these were just warnings, night dwellers. Gentle introductions to the true horror that awaited them in the darkness. Tell me, what would you do if your home that you just started moving in changed rules of reality within hours of moving in? Objects being moved on their own, clocks stopping at the exact same time in the morning. Would you stay? Or would you leave? Let us know in the comments. Chapter 3, The Cellar's Cold Embrace. What waits for you in the depths? Every house has a heart, Every one of them. And most hearts in homes are good, light, happy, welcoming. In the Arnold estate, however, that heart was black, rotten, and beating in the basement. Roger Perron came home from a long trip. He was gone for 3 days. He was met at the back door by Carolyn. The heating's out again, Roger. We're freezing in this house. I thought you got that furnace fixed. Honey, I just got in the door. Can you give me a chance to put my coat in the closet? Can you at least do that? Roger was beginning to feel some sort of way. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but he felt angry. The kids are wrapped up in the living room with blankets. We have to get this fixed. I'll go down there in a minute, Carolyn. Leave me alone. You see, Roger Perron was a practical man. He was a man who fixed things. He was able to figure things out. But nothing could have prepared him for what lurked in the cellar. The moment that his feet touched the dirt floor, the temperature plummeted, worse than it was upstairs. Not gradually, instantly, as if he'd stepped into a morgue. One night, Roger was downstairs working on a furnace, and he felt a hand on his shoulder move around to the back of his neck, and a stench that stinks so badly. It smelled as if something was rotting. Cold, rancid, ancient. It never showed itself fully, but Roger could feel its malevolent attention like ice water in his veins. His breath came in visible puffs as he worked, and he tried to work fast, hands shaking not just from cold, but from primal fear. The smell was the worst part. First person, Andrea. Dad asked me once if I would go in the basement with him and hold the toolbox while he was working. It smelled so bad down there. Something was rotten. I asked him if maybe an animal had passed away down there. The smell seemed to seep from the very walls. It was, as I look back on it, it was as if the earth itself was contaminated by whatever evil had taken root there. Meanwhile, upstairs, the girls were discovering their own horrors. First person, Christine. I didn't like that house. I told my sisters I didn't like that house. We had been living there, I don't know, maybe a month. And I was laying down in my bed. And I would see the door open. And I could hear footsteps on the hardwood floors. And then I would feel my blanket. My blanket would actually lift up a little bit. You know how mom tucks you in bed at night? Well, it would pull up and it would tuck around me. And then I would feel just a pat on the head, on the top of the head. But it wasn't mom. It was never mom. Andrea, first person. When Christine told me what she was experiencing, I told her not to tell mom. I begged her not to tell mom. I just felt like mom was on the edge of breaking or something. I mean, Dad was gone. She was trying to raise the 5 of us. The house was just spooky as all get out. But she did it anyway. She told her at the dinner table. Christine told her mother. After Carolyn had told the girls to go upstairs and take showers and get ready for bed, Christine said, "Mom, will you tuck me in tonight? I don't want the other lady doing it." Carolyn tried to stay calm and asked her young daughter, Christine, "What do you mean, honey?" Christine was known as being the most matter-of-fact of the girls. The lady, she smells like flowers and she's very nice, but I don't like it when she puts her hands on me to tuck me in. Why? Because her hands are so cold. Andrea, first person, the oldest Perron daughter. I never felt that this particular spirit was bad. I always felt like it was protective of us. I mean, I had felt her approach my bed a couple times too, but I wasn't terrified. I mean, I was definitely scared, but I wasn't like petrified. But I think it was probably the same woman that I saw at the top of the steps on the day of us moving in. I mean, I think it was that elderly woman in black. She was just making her presence known. Now that I look back on it, I think she was there to protect us. At the time, we didn't know for what. Now I ask myself what stalked these halls that required a guardian angel to stand watch over me and my 4 sisters. Cindy was terrified. She was petrified. She slept in another room, and she would say that she was just terrified and she wanted to sleep in my room, in my bed. And I would let her. I asked her though one night, I remember she was curled up really close to me, and I said, "What's wrong? What's wrong, Cindy? What happened?" She said that the woman whispered to her, "Close your eyes." Another time, she had just taken a shower, and it was the summer, but it didn't matter what time of the year it was, what season that it was, the house always had a chill. I remember Cindy woke up one night and she was screaming. Dad was home this time, and she said there were voices all around her bed. Lots of voices, but they were all saying the same thing over and over. We asked her what she had heard them say, and she said, they say there are 7 dead soldiers buried in the wall. 7 dead soldiers buried in the wall. Night after night, young Cindy would hear the monotone chorus of voices surrounding her bed, the floorboards shaking beneath their phantom presence. Perhaps her sensitivity to the spirit world traced back to those first months of life. You see, young Cindy had passed away on an operating table at 2 months old, only to be pulled back from whatever realm awaited beyond this life. She could see things, feel things, hear things, know things. And then young Nancy, she chimed in, I see him too. He leans against the door frame. He never moves. He just watches us, Mom. But there was something else in that house. Something so evil. Something so unspeakable that even decades later, Andrea Perron refuses to speak of it to this day directly. First person, Andrea, the oldest of the Perron daughters. There was a, let's just say that there was a very bad male spirit in the home with all 5 of us. And I don't want to talk about it, but he most of the time would just watch us while we were in our rooms brushing our hair, just having got out of the shower and climbing into bed. He would just watch us. Cindy saw him more than any of us, but I could feel my blankets moving at night. The implication hung in the air like a curse. Some horrors are too dark to name, too vile to give voice to, even in the safety of memory. Night after night, the children reported the same figure. A man in period clothing, perpetually posed in doorways, observing them with eyes that held the weight of eternity. Johnny Arnold, they would later learn, was his name. Another soul who had chosen death over whatever the house had contained. But it was April, sweet little April, the youngest, who first spoke the name that would haunt them for a decade. Little April's voice was innocent. Carolyn was in the kitchen making lunch for the girls. It was summer. They were watching TV, playing games. And then little April ran in. Mommy! Mommy! What is it? Manny wants to play with me. Who? Manny! Manny! He wants to play with me. Carolyn wiped her hands on her dish towel and walked in the living room. April, only your sisters are in here. No, he's over in the corner. Hi, Manny. Andrea was laying on the couch reading a Nancy Drew book. Two of the sisters were playing Uno. The other sister was watching TV, and little April was waving, and nothing in the corner. Who's Manny, sweetheart? April's voice rose up just a little bit, as if explaining the obvious. He's the man who lives in the walls, Mommy. He says he's lonely. He wants to play with me. Can I play with Manny? Please, Mommy. Please. No, you can't. He wants to play Marco Polo. Do you want to play too? No, I don't. What I do want is for you to come in the kitchen and sit with me. You can use your coloring book. Your crayons are in the drawer. Go! Question for you. If invisible hands tucked your child or grandchild into bed each night, would you feel grateful or terrified? Let us know in the comments. Chapter 4, The Waking Nightmare begins. When does home become hell? By 1972, the Perron family had learned to live with the impossible. But the house wasn't content with quiet coexistence. It wanted more. Andrea, first person, the oldest daughter in the Perron family. It had been about a year. We thought we'd adjusted. April still talked about Manny. The spirit that was upstairs and would watch us while we were sleeping would show up every now and then. We still saw the old woman, sometimes in the kitchen, sometimes at the top of the steps. We thought that if we ignored them, they'd ignore us. We thought that would happen. We thought if we just acknowledged that they weren't there, that they would just go away. That's how it happens in horror movies, right? We were so very wrong. Indeed, they were. The activity escalated. Doors slammed shut with violent force, trapping family members in rooms for hours. Windows opened on their own during blizzards or rain, filling the house with Arctic air, soaking floors. The smell of rotting flesh would suddenly permeate the whole kitchen. It was so strong that it made the family gag. Andrea, first person, the oldest Perron daughter. I woke up one morning to Mom just shrieking and screaming. She was in the kitchen and she was just yelling at my dad. I clean this floor every morning, and every afternoon there are fresh piles of dirt. No one tracks it in, Roger. It just appears. My dad, he didn't like it when Mom would yell at him, and he would just get defensive and frustrated. Carolyn, there has to be a logical explanation for all of this. But logic had no place in the Arnold estate night dwellers. Logic was for the living world, and this house existed in the spaces between life and death. It was during the autumn of 1972 that Carolyn first felt the true malevolence of the house. She had been left alone up to this point. She was hanging laundry when something grabbed her leg. She shrieked and screamed. Roger was in the kitchen working on a report with one of the girls. She was screaming, "Roger! Roger, something just bit me!" Roger and the girls ran down the hall to the laundry room. The mark on Carolyn's calf was unmistakable. A perfect puncture wound that drew blood, but had no visible cause. No bee sting, no pool, no tool, just pain and blood, and the lingering sensation of hatred made manifest. Andrea, first person. "Mom, why is your leg bleeding?" I remember asking my mom that, and she was trying to stop it with towels. And I just remember the blood being so red. And I just remember she was trying to maintain her composure. Dad was getting the car ready to take her to the emergency room. I don't know. I don't know what happened. It hurt so bad. "I'm okay, sweetheart. I'm okay." But the attacks on Carolyn became regular. She would be swept off her feet by invisible hands, thrown against walls, her hair pulled with vicious strength. Whatever dwelled in that house had chosen its primary target, and it wanted Carolyn Perron gone. Andrea, first person. We started to realize that something was very, very wrong with our house. Not just haunted, but something malevolent lived there. Something that hated us for being alive. I didn't feel it in the first year that we were there. But I think it was there all along, just waiting. The cruelest trick was how the house would give them moments of peace, entire days, weeks, where nothing happened. Where they could almost believe that they had imagined it all. Then night would fall, and the darkness would come alive with footsteps, voices, and the sound of furniture moving in empty rooms. And through it all, they felt watched, constantly, hungrily, as if learning their fears, preparing for a final assault on their sanity. I have another question for you. At what point would you abandon everything you owned to escape a house that wanted to destroy you? Chapter 5, The Children of Darkness. What happens when the innocent meet the malevolent? Children see what adults cannot or will not acknowledge. In the Arnold estate, this sight was both blessing and curse. April would walk around saying, Manny says he used to live here when he was alive like us. April had become the primary communicator of the spirit. At only 6 years old, she spoke with the dead as easily as she spoke with her sisters. To her, there was no difference between the living and the departed. In fact, she said she saw them just like she saw her sisters, or her mom, or her dad. It's often been discussed if little April was a conduit, a channel that awakened something within the Arnold estates. Andrea, first person. Mom used to yell at April, I don't want you talking to Manny anymore. Manny is not real. No, he's not. He is not real. Manny is real. Why won't you let me talk with him, Mommy? He's nice. He tells me stories about the old days. The spirits were particularly drawn to the children, perhaps sensing their innocence, their openness to realms beyond the physical world. But not all of the attention was benevolent. Christine experienced the most violent of attacks. Night after night, something would grip her by the ankles and drag her from the bed, leaving her screaming in terror on the floor. The family would find her the next morning, her legs covered in unexplained black and purple bruises. Andrea. It liked Christine. Whatever it was, it picked her. It would just jerk her around like she was a rag doll. And Christine would scream out, it won't leave me alone, it keeps pulling me. I tried to pull her back up one time and I couldn't do it. I started sleeping in Christine's room thinking I could protect her. But I was wrong. Night dwellers. The entity that targeted Christine was different from the others. This entity was violent, angry, and sexual in nature. It seemed to feed on her fear, growing stronger with each attack. I asked her one time, it was the next day, I asked her if she ever saw it, and she said, at first, no, but I can see it now. She said it's not human, it's wrong. Everything about him is wrong. But perhaps the most disturbing was Nancy's experience. She began sleepwalking, wandering around the house in the middle of the night. Her eyes were open, but she was seeing nothing of this world. Nancy claimed that she saw a lady in white. She said that the lady would tell her it wanted her to come to the cellar. The lady in white would tell her, there's something I want you to see. Andrea said that her mother, Carolyn, would try to wake up Nancy in a panic. Nancy, wake up! Shaking And then Nancy would come to. Her eyes were wide. Huh? How did I get downstairs? The house was calling to them, trying to claim them one by one. Each child was being groomed for something horrible, for something that waited in the darkness below. Young Cindy said once, I hear music at night, old music, like from a music box. But when I follow it, it stops. Andrea, first person. We were being hunted systematically. The house was learning our weaknesses, our fears, and it was preparing us for something we couldn't even begin to imagine. Here's another question before we go to intermission. How do you protect children from an enemy that exists beyond the physical world? Let's take a 5-minute intermission, and I will come back with the remaining half of the Perron family haunting based on The Conjuring. Sherry. Hey, Spitfire. Yeah, we're gonna take a 10. I don't think 5 is enough. So what are you thinking of this story? Hey, Ray Ray, how are you? Hey, Rotting Savior, how are you? Hey, Miranda Lee. Squirrel, thank you for the follow. Squirrel, do you like scary stories? I know, right? You just get them out of there. Hey, Bobby Johnson. Caffeinated Sloth. I love your name. Hello, Joanne Rayfield. I'm just telling you. Eddie, thank you for for sharing the live. I'll just tell you now, I don't care how much money that I have put into it. If I am experiencing something pulling my daughter out of bed and having bruises the next morning, we're gone. We are gone. We will not be back. I'll just take a loss financially. Nope, nope, nope. Not happening. Exactly. Hey, 8 Money. Thank you for joining. If you like scary stories, paranormal stories, ghost stories, true crime, serial unalivers, Appalachian folklore, Appalachian horror, folklore, cryptids, we cover everything here. If you like it, we're on 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, from 8 o'clock p.m. till 10ish. If you like it, hit that follow button and the notification bell, and never miss another Twisted Tales Live. And welcome. Oh, I'm so glad, Nikki. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you like it. More dinero. Good, good, good. You wouldn't have liked my voice a couple of days ago. I had no voice. Barely. It was terrible. Hey, Magic Moon. How are you? I am. I'm on the road to recovery. Thank goodness. Hello, Kenny, and welcome to Story Time. So come back tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is chiller night. And do I have a chiller for you, Night Dwellers? I know it, Nikki. I know it. I was like, this is just crazy. I was mad. I was like really, really mad. I get angry. Who gave me this? I cannot afford to be sick. My night dwellers need me. I'm slightly dramatic. Hey, Acid TV. I can't stand it, and there's just something about a summer cold. Like, it's already hot as it is. I mean, we are having temps in the high 90s here. So just that on top of a cold, and you're already having difficulty breathing, and my head felt like a balloon. You went through brain withdrawals. I drink this green juice, and since then I never get cold. Well, you need to tell me what that is, Magic Moon. You definitely do. I want you to know that before I read a story to you, I thoroughly research it. I want every element of that story. I want you to have the full, true accounting. And it took a while for me to look up everything on this case. I mean, half of it has not even been told in the movie. There would be no way. But this was one of the most violent hauntings in American history. Thank you, Magic. Hello, Joanne Rayfield. Oh, you are most welcome. Most welcome. Yeah, it's going to be a hot one. Well, I'm back, Miranda. Thank you. I had a lot of people that told me when I wasn't on, they're like, I don't know what to do with my evenings anymore. And I was just like, oh. I'm doing much better, Jenny. Much better. Not completely 100%, but I didn't want to go another night without it. Hello, Jay Hicks. How are you? You just went to bed Friday night. I am so sorry. Oh my goodness. We'll start here in 1 minute. I am doing well, Jay. Have you been here before? If this is your first time on Twisted Tales Live, let us know. We want to say hi. This is quite possibly, and I'm not just saying it because it's the Night Dweller Live, but this is the most wonderful, loving, tight-knit TikTok community and beyond TikTok community. We have no judgment here. We are accepting of everyone. The only ones that we're not accepting of is energy vampires. They simply don't do. We like vampires, just not energy vampires. But it is the most warm, loving, welcome, safe community environment. We're family, we're friends. So if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for a place where you can interact with your fellow night dwellers, this is it. This is the community, the Scary Story community. And welcome. Hello, JB Booker 26. First time? Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. JB, what is your favorite kind of scary story? We tell them all here, but I still want to know your favorite. right, who is ready for the continuance of the Perron haunting? You know what, I'm sorry, but this crown has got to go. I am having extreme pressure. However, I am going to put on one of my favorites for the remaining portion of the story. There we go. All right, and I am also going to change up the music. Let's get back into story mood, shall we? Lower your lights. Light a candle for ambiance to cast those shadows. Lock your doors. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to enter your room as I tell you the Perron family haunting. The Conjuring was based on the story. The story wasn't based on the movie. And let's begin. Chapter 6. The Witch of the Arnold Estate. Did you say a witch, Bryn? Oh yes, a witch. Who is the queen of this house of horrors? Her name was Bathsheba Sherman, though the truth of her story has been twisted by time and malice. Born in 1812, she had lived in the 19th century as a real woman, but her passing had transformed her into something unspeakable. Bathsheba Sherman was beautiful, but she had a very dark heart. Andrea, first person, the oldest of the Perron daughters. People always ask me, how long did it take for the paranormal activity to start after we moved in? Looking back on it now, the answer is simple. 5 minutes. 5 minutes, my dwellers. 5 minutes for the Arnold estate to reveal itself to the Perron family. But here, in the night realm, night dwellers, your night queen is always going to speak the truth. The entity that tormented Carolyn was not Bathsheba Sherman, as the world had been told. Through years of research, the Perron family discovered the real identity of their tormentor, Miss John Arnold, who had died in 1797 at the age of 93. Miss John Arnold also had a very black, evil heart. She had taken her own life in the very barn that stood on the property. Her neck broken. Her spirit trapped by the sin of taking your own life. That was a grievous offense and a sin before God. She did it in an era where such an act damned one's soul for eternity. It was this broken-necked spectre who appeared to Carolyn that August morning. Not a 19th century woman, but an 18th century person who had unalived themselves, whose rage had festered for over 2 centuries. Carolyn, first person. I was lying in bed when I felt someone watching me. I opened my eyes and there she was, standing at the foot of my bed. Carolyn said that the apparition wore clothing from a century past, her gray hair pulled back severely from her face twisted with hatred, so pure it made the air itself feel toxic. But it was her eyes that Carolyn would never forget. Black holes of malevolence that seemed to pull light from the room. Carolyn, first person. She spoke to me in language I didn't understand. Words that sounded ancient and evil. And then she smiled. God help me, she smiled, and I knew. She wanted me gone. According to local legend, there were 2 women who had suffered terrible fates on the Arnold estate. According to local legend, Bathsheba, the beautiful woman, had been suspected of witchcraft and the taking of young lives. Whether true or not, death had given her power beyond mortal comprehension. She considered herself the mistress of the Arnold estate, and she would tolerate no competition from another woman. And neither would Miss John Arnold. First person, Andrea. One of the scariest things that we encountered in that house was on a Sunday night. Mom made all of us take our baths to get ready for school the next day. And Mom was suffering bad headaches, nosebleeds. She yelled at us constantly. I went downstairs to get a clean towel for Christine. She was in the bathtub. And then I heard her screaming, and I heard this banging and pounding. I went in, and Christine was under the water, and she had a look of panic on her face. I went to lift her up out of the tub, and she was just screaming and gasping for breath. And I asked her what happened, and she said, the hands keep trying to push me under. Hands were pushing me under. I wrapped her up in a towel and took her downstairs to the living room. Mom was laying on the couch. It was dark in the living room. The only light was from the TV. But I remember Mom looked up and she said, "What nonsense is she talking about, Andrea?" And Christine started screaming again. "Invisible hands! They grab my shoulders and try to hold me underwater." But it was the dawn attacks that broke the family's spirit. Every morning at 5:15 a.m., the house would fill with the overwhelming stench of rotting flesh. The smell was so putrid, so thick, that it seemed to coat their throat and lungs. Andrea, first person. I was laying in bed. The moonlight was shining through the windows. There was nothing there. I saw nothing there. But I remember that I took one leg out from under the cover and was just laying there. And then I felt it. Strong, heavy. Something picked me up by my ankles and threw me out of the bed onto the floor. Andrea, first person. This would happen one by one. All of our family members would be violently ejected from our beds, thrown to the floor by some invisible hands that had inhuman strength. "Girls, everyone get up. It's happening again. It's throwing us out of the beds." We never told anyone about the bruises, the blood, the bumps that would rise on the back of our heads. This house was announcing its dominance, reminding the Perron family who truly ruled the Arnold estate. It wasn't them. The constant terror was aging Carolyn before their eyes. She was 29 when they moved into this house. She began to wither like a flower in poisoned soil. Her skin wrinkled prematurely. Her weight dropped dramatically. Excuse me. And she lived in constant pain, as if the very life force was being drained from her body. Andrea, first person. I remember Dad was having to go away on a business trip again. Mom would not sleep upstairs anymore. She refused. She would lay on the couch. She was pale as a ghost. I remember Dad walked in. He sat in the chair opposite her. "Carolyn?" baby. Honey, you look like you're dying. And I remember feeling so much sadness when my mom responded. I felt like I am. Bath time became a nightmare. The children reported feeling unseen hands pushing them beneath the surface, trying to drown them in their own home. What should have been a place of safety had become a death trap. Temperature would plummet without warning, 50 degrees in an instant, turning a warm room into an Arctic wasteland. The family's breath would form clouds as whatever dwelled in the house sucked the very warmth from the air. And the attacks on Carolyn, they only intensified. Bathsheba would appear during the day, not just the night, no longer hiding in shadows, and neither would Miss Arnold. She would slam doors when Carolyn tried to enter rooms, move objects to strike her, fill the air with the stench of decay whenever she was near. First person, Andrea. I came home one day from school. Mom was standing at the top of the steps. Blood was dripping from her forehead down her nose. I asked her what had happened, and she said one of them threw something at me. She just said it just as matter of fact as anything. Andrea, first person. We got Mom back downstairs, and we were sitting at the kitchen table. I had made an ice pack. She was holding it to her head, but she was wincing because it felt so bad. And I remember Mom saying, she's trying to drive me insane. I can feel her hatred like poison in my veins. She wants me gone. One night, Mom was in the living room and she was ranting and raving about witches. She went to the library and found out information about the Arnold estate. She found out about Bathsheba Sherman. She found out about Miss Arnold. She was telling my dad, and I remember she was in hysterics. Carolyn, please. You're scaring the children with talk of witches. Stop it. But I remember my mom's voice was firm. Can you explain what's happening to me, Roger? You explain the marks on my body, the voices in the walls, the way the house itself seems to hate me. Explain the vase being thrown at my forehead. What is it? But Bathsheba's, Sherman's cruelest weapon was fire. She would appear surrounded by flames, holding matches that burned without consuming themselves, threatening the one thing that Carolyn feared most, harm to her children. Andrea, first person. We were all in bed. We went to bed earlier that night. Christine was complaining of a headache. Cindy was in bed with me. We had all started sleeping in the same room. Not that it really mattered. If they wanted you, they would grab you. I had just about nodded off to sleep, and then I heard my mom's voice, and it was panicked. smell smoke. Girls, get out. Get out of the house now. But there was never any fire. Just the threat, the promise. We smelled it. We smelled the smoke. The psychological torture of a mother's worst nightmare, being dangled before her eyes night after night. My mother aged years in months. She was so pretty when we first moved in. Her hair was shiny, her skin glowed. She was happy being a new mom to April. Bathsheba was trying her best to unalive her, slowly, methodically, feeding on my mom's fear and desperation. But the worst part, night dwellers, Bathsheba was just getting started. The house held darker secrets still, older evils that made even the witch seem merciful by comparison. Here's a question for you. What would you do if you discovered the previous owner of your home had never truly left? Chapter 7. The Warrens arrive. Can the living fight the dead? By 1973, the Perron family was desperate. The attacks had escalated beyond anything they could endure alone. Through a local paranormal research group, they heard about a couple who specialized in the impossible, Ed and Lorraine Warren. I'm sure you've heard of them. When Ed arrived at the Arnold estate, he said, "We've investigated over 10,000 cases of paranormal activity. We'll help you understand what you're dealing with." And then Lorraine Warren said, "I can feel them already, and we're not even in the house yet. There are multiple spirits here, but one is very dangerous. It's ancient and it's malevolent, and it wants to hurt you, Carolyn." So the Warrens arrived on a crisp autumn day, their presence bringing both hope and terror to the Arnold estate. Lorraine, a gifted clairvoyant, immediately sensed the true scope of the haunting. They were sitting around the kitchen table. The girls were in the living room. Roger and Carolyn were seated at the table with them. Lorraine had walked through the house, upstairs, downstairs. "Ed, this is unlike anything we've ever encountered." She looked up at the ceiling. The house itself is a portal. There are spirits here from different time periods, different tragedies. So many different tragedies. Ed spoke up. "Then we'll document everything, Lorraine. We'll gather evidence and we're going to find a way to help this family. We're going to help you, they assured them. But the house didn't welcome investigators. The moment that the Wardens began their work, and the activity exploded into violence. Andrea, first person. I felt the shift. It was like the house was angry that Ed and Lorraine Warren had came there. The spirits became more aggressive, more visible, more dangerous. Furniture moved across the room. Objects flew through the air. It was terrifying. Andrea is correct. Objects flew through the air with lethal force. The temperature dropped to near freezing levels. Voices spoke in languages that predated English, their tone filled with threats and warnings. I remember Miss Warren coming in the living room and sitting down in the chair opposite my mom. They don't want us here. Whatever controls this house, it sees us as a threat. And then I heard Mr. Warren. He said that they had dealt with demonic entities before. Lorraine, we can handle this. We can handle this. We can help this family. Oh. But Ed and Warren were so very wrong. The Arnold estate wasn't housing demons. It was something far older, far more complex. A convergence of spiritual energy that had been building for centuries. Andrea, first person. I remember Miss Lorraine telling her husband that she was seeing children. So many children passed here. They're warning us about something. I can't pick up on it completely, but something that's coming. The Warrens documented cold spots that denied physics, recorded voices speaking words that shouldn't exist, captured photographs of shadowy figures that human eyes couldn't see. But for every piece of evidence they gathered, the house extracted payment in terror. Andrea, first person. I just remember Mom pleading with Ed and Lorraine Warren. Please, you have to help us. I can't take much more of this. My kids have bruises and cuts. We can't take much more of this. And I remember Mr. Warren telling my mom, Miss Perron, I believe a seance might be your only option here. We need to make contact with the controlling entity and try to negotiate. A seance in a house where the dead already walk freely among the living. What could possibly go wrong with that? Here's a question for you. Would you invite strangers into your home, night dwellers, if they promised to speak with the dead? Chapter 8. The Seance from Hell. What happens when you open the door between worlds? The seance was held on a night when the autumn wind howled through the barren trees surrounding the Arnold estate, as if nature itself was trying to warn them away from their intentions. Andrea, first person, the oldest Perron daughter. We were sitting around the table and everyone was joining hands. Everyone join hands now. We're going to attempt to communicate with the spirit that claims dominion over this house. Lorraine Warren spoke up. She was nervous. The energy here is so strong, Ed. She looked up at the ceiling, the stairs. I'm not sure we can control what might come through. Around the kitchen table sat the Warrens, Carolyn, Roger, and Andrea. The other children had been sent to a neighbor's house under caution that would prove wise. Ed Warren spoke up. Spirits of this house, we call upon you to make your presence known. We seek understanding, not conflict. The response was immediate and terrifying. The temperature plummeted so rapidly that their breath formed clouds. The walls themselves seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. Lorraine Warren spoke up, trance-like. She's coming. She's angry. She's so very angry. Carolyn's voice, suddenly different, deeper. Get out. The voice that came from Carolyn's mouth was not her own. It was ancient, filled with hatred that spanned centuries, speaking with authority that made the very air vibrate with menace. Andrea, first person. I heard that voice come out of my mom's mouth, and it was not her. That's not my mother. That's not her voice. Andrea cried out that night. Carolyn's voice possessed. This is my house, my domain. You mortals dare to command me. Carolyn's body began to convulse. Her eyes rolled back, showing only the light. She rose from her chair, not by her own power, but lifted by invisible hands. Andrea, first person. Mom! Mom! My mom was levitating. She was being lifted out of the chair. Ed Warren was commanding. Spirit, release this woman! You had no right to her! Possessed, laughing with inhuman glee, Is that what you think? I have every right. This is my house. She is my rival. I will have her soul. The kitchen erupted into chaos. Dishes shattered against walls. The table began to shake violently, and through it all, Carolyn floated 3 feet above her chair, her body twisted in ways that defied anatomy. Lorraine. And she's being possessed by Bathsheba. The entity is trying to unalive her. Edward, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Your prayers are useless here. This is a place where he holds no power. Man of faith. Andrea, first person. She's killing her! This thing is killing my mother! For 20 minutes, that felt like eternity, Bathsheba Sherman's spirit battled for complete control of Carolyn Perron's soul. The possessed woman spoke in tongues, revealed knowledge of the dead, and threatened to burn the house down with everyone inside. Edward, by the power of the divine light, I command you to release her! Suddenly, Carolyn collapsed to the floor, her body convulsing as the foreign spirit was expelled. She lay unconscious for several minutes while the others watched in terrified silence. Andrea. Mom was so still. I thought she was gone. And then she turned her head. She asked what had happened. Why are you all staring at me? The seance was over, but its consequences would haunt the Perron family forever. Another question for you. If you could speak with the dead, would you risk letting them speak to you? Chapter 9, The Long Nightmare. How do you survive when escape seems impossible? After the seance, something fundamental changed in the Arnold estate. The house had been awakened to its full power, and the spirits grew bolder, more violent, more desperate. Andrea. The next 7 years were about our very souls. Dad finally told Ed and Lorraine Warren to leave. Every day was survival. Every night was terror. Roger, who had remained skeptical for so long, could no longer deny what was happening in his home. The attacks on Carolyn became so severe that he feared for her life. Roger, Perron, first person. I knew what was going on there. I wanted to move. God, help me. I wanted to pack up and leave that very night, but we didn't have any money. We were trapped. We had nowhere to go. We had put everything that we had into that place. The family had invested everything in the Arnold estate. To leave would mean bankruptcy, homelessness. So they stayed prisoners in their own home. The children learned to sleep in each other's rooms. They would not stay alone. They always walked the house in numbers. They developed signals, ways to communicate when the spirits were active. They grew up far too quickly in a house where childhood innocence simply couldn't survive. Christine once said, I don't remember what it feels like to not be afraid. Once Nancy said, that man in the doorway watches me every night. I've stopped looking at him, and he doesn't try to visit me at night anymore. April said, Manny doesn't come to play with me anymore. Not since the bad people came, referring to Ed and Lorraine Warren. He says it's not safe. Carolyn's health deteriorated rapidly. The constant attacks, the lack of sleep, the psychological torture of living with the malevolent entity that wanted her dead. It was destroying her body and her mind. Carolyn, first person. I don't have as many attacks as I did, but some days I think I'm losing my sanity. I see her. I see both of the women. Bathsheba will peek out from around corners, laugh. She'll tell me that they're my children, claiming them. The older lady, she tries to trip me. She'll just appear in the living room, just staring at me with the darkest, soulless black eyes. I feel her hatred like poison in my veins. The house seemed to feed on their despair. The stronger their fear became, the more active the spirits grew. It was a cycle of terror that threatened to consume them all. Andrea, first person. We learned to live with the impossible. We learned to live with doors that open on their own, voices in empty rooms. We learned to live with the smell of death. It would just suddenly fill the air, and these things became normal to us. But in 1978, something new began to happen. The spirits started to try and communicate more directly to warn the family that something worse was coming. Ed and Lorraine Warren were called back by Roger, who had cast them out earlier. The spirits are agitated. They're trying to protect you from something that makes them afraid. And then Lorraine said, it's Bathsheba. She just refuses to leave. What could frighten the dead? What horror was approaching the Arnold estate that made even the other spirits tremble with fear? Question. At what point does survival become worse than surrender? Chapter 10. Escape from hell. Can you ever truly leave a haunted house behind? Physically, yes, I would say. Mentally, no. By 1980, the Perron family had endured 10 years of supernatural torment. 10 years of living between worlds, caught in the spaces between life and death. But finally, an opportunity for escape appeared. Roger Perron. I just remember telling Carolyn and the girls that we had found a buyer. Someone that was willing to take the house exactly as it was. It just felt kind of foreign when we started packing and just knowing that we could finally leave. The irony was not lost on them. They were selling their hell to some unsuspecting family, passing on the curse like a viral infection. But after a decade of terror, their survival instincts had overridden their guilt. Andrea, I felt sorry for whoever would move in after us, but I also felt relief so profound it made me dizzy. But the house wasn't ready to let them go. As the family packed their belongings, the activity reached a fever pitch that surpassed even the seance. Carolyn, they didn't want us to leave. I could feel it in my bones. The spirits were angry. They didn't want us to leave. I was terrified that whole day that something bad, really, really bad was going to happen. I remember April walked in the kitchen. She just walked up to me and said, Manny just told me goodbye. He says he'll miss me. On their final night in the Arnold estate, something unprecedented happened. The spirits, all of them, appeared together the protective elderly woman, the watchful Johnny Arnold, even some of the more malevolent entities gathered to witness the family's departure. Andrea, I don't know. It was weird. I mean, we've been there for 10 years. I was about to turn 22. I was about to go to college, and they've become our reality for so long. I don't know. Somehow I felt like we were abandoning our family. I know, it's weird, it's crazy. I know, but not everyone in the house was evil. Most of them were, but there were some that were there, just like Lorraine Morton said, they were trapped. Just like us, bound to that house by circumstances that were beyond their control. But Bathsheba's shaman made one final appearance, her hatred undiminished by time and understanding. She possessed Carolyn's voice one last time. Andrea. Mom was sitting on the couch. She was taping up one of the final boxes. And then she said, "You cannot escape me. I will follow. And I will find you." Ed and Lorraine Warren said that the evil was from the basement. She said that something bad happened down there centuries ago. Ed Warren said once, "No, the evil stays with this house. It cannot follow you beyond these walls." On a gray morning on March 1980, the Perron family loaded their final possessions and drove away from the Arnold estate forever. As they reached the end of the long driveway, they turned for one last look. It was so odd. Andrea, first person. I turned around and looked in the back seat. The house looked peaceful in the morning light, almost welcoming. You wouldn't think anything was wrong with it, but we knew better. We knew what lived in those shadows. Carolyn, Perron, first person. I never thought that when we bought the Arnold estate that it would become what it was. We've left it, but I still see it in my mind. We are changed forever by what we experienced there. The Perron family rebuilt their lives in Georgia, far from the haunted valleys of Rhode Island, but the memories remained. You can't forget those things. You can't erase them. The knowledge that there are things in the world beyond human understanding. That houses can be more than just wood and stone. They can be doorways to realms that we were never meant to enter. Question. Once you've lived in a haunted house, can anywhere ever truly feel safe? And so ends the tale of the Perron family haunting my beloved night dwellers. A true story of terror that lasted 10 years and changed 7 lives forever. The Arnold estate still stands today, as dark and mysterious as ever. New owners have come and gone, each adding their own chapter to its supernatural legacy. Some brave souls offer overnight stays to paranormal investigators, allowing them to experience firsthand what the Perrons endured for a decade. But remember this, night dwellers. The story I've told you tonight is not fiction. It is not entertainment. It is testimony. Proof that the world contains mysteries beyond our comprehension, terrors beyond our imagination. Andrea Perron went on to write 3 books about her family's experience. She waited 30 years to tell the truth. House of Darkness, House of Light, a testimony to the resilience of the human spirit when faced with the impossible. The Conjuring films, inspired by their story, dare show only a fraction of what really occurred in that house. Hollywood can never capture the true scope of the horror or the strange beauty of living between worlds. Tonight, when you return to your rooms and lay in your beds, listen carefully to the sounds in your walls. Pay attention to the shadows in your corners. Watch for doors that stand open or creak when you're certain that you closed them. Because now you know the truth, night dwellers. Now you understand that some houses are more than homes. They are doorways, portals, prisons for souls that cannot rest. The night realm releases you for now. But remember, once you've heard the truth about the darkness that surrounds us, you can never quite forget it. Until we meet again in the shadows. This is your night queen, keeper of secrets, guardian of the stories that must not be